Hello and welcome to the ninth edition of my YouTube channel Crank Punk Rides. My name is Lee Rogers and this is the second part of my video, How I Turned Pro at 37 years of age. As ever, if you like this video, please do subscribe and please click the like button down at the bottom. That'd be great. Thank you very much. And let's get going. Now, in the previous video, I mentioned how I went from racing in Japan at the age of 37 after 18 years of not racing at all or even riding a bike, how I then ended up coming to Taiwan to work as a journalist and also to join a continental cycling team, and how that took me from racing around Asia to ending up in the Netherlands and Belgium racing against the world's best riders in the post-Tour de France criteriums. And in this video today, I'll be talking about what happened since then. That was the end of 2011, up to now really. So the end of 2011, I was still in Taiwan. I was working as the editor of that cycling website. I had just finished racing for my team, Fuji Asia. I had just given a verbal agreement to join a new team, and then something happened. November 2011, I agreed to join a new continental team to go racing the UCI Asia Tour. Didn't sign anything, and then end of the month I get a phone call from the manager of the RTS team, formerly Giants. They were the strongest team in Taiwan and one of the strongest teams actually in all of Asia. And he says to me, would you like to join our team? And I said, well, I'm sorry, but I've already committed to this other team. And he said, okay, well, I was going to ask you if you'd like to come and race in the Tour of Qatar and the Tour of Oman. And I said, sorry? He said, yeah, we want you to join the team. We've got an invite to Qatar and to Oman. These are these huge races in February, usually January and February, when all the world's best riders, all the top teams, it's basically all Pro Tour teams, go and they race in Qatar and Oman. And yeah, we got an invite, and I mean, it was insane. It was insane. So what an amazing opportunity, and of course I grabbed it with both hands. There was only one problem, which was about a week after that guy, Mr. Lin, his name was, called me up to ask me if I wanted to join his team, and then I said yes. He told me that I had to go to China for a training camp. That wasn't something I was really keen on, but I figured, okay, I'd better go along and do it. But a couple of days later, I was out training in the hills in Taichung, where I was living at the time here in Taiwan, and I got hit by a car as the car was coming around the corner. The woman was rushing to work. Ended up at the hospital for a couple of hours. And of course, I can't ride the bike outside. It was impossible, would have been too painful, would have made the injury worse. So I had to work out what to do, and what I did was I called up Mr. Lin, and I made up an excuse why I couldn't go to China. He kind of bought it. He wasn't too happy, but said, okay, you train on your own, you prepare on your own. And for the next 3.5 weeks, I spent, I think it was about 20 to 25 hours a week on the indoor trainer on the roof of my building, because the neighbors complained about the noise, with cushion strapped around the left side and one around the right side to balance it out. And I was there in rain or shine. This was December, I think it was, 2011. So it'd be hot one day, cold the next day, raining, blazing sun. The neighbors were coming to have a look at the window and see what I was up to, and then they'd go out shopping or whatever and come back 4 hours later, and I was still there. So I have done my time on the indoor-outdoor trainer, trust me. We land in Qatar all the way from Taiwan. Pretty terrified about being in this race. I kind of feel like I have a right to be there, but at the same time, I'm 40 years old and I'm racing with the best guys in the world. And no doubt about it, I was a little bit scared. So the day before the race, day 0, me and another guy on my team, we decided to go for a little training ride. And as we're on our way back at about maybe 9 in the morning, Mark Cavendish and Bernie Eisler are walking towards us. And Mark Cavendish just basically turned to Bernie Eisler and said, who are these And we got in the elevator and I said, did he just say what I thought he said? And well, we just started laughing. So that was a nice introduction to sort of the life of a pro cyclist. You know, the very best pro cyclist in the world, to be called a by good old Mark Cavendish. But always stand up for yourself. A few days later, he was trying to drop me on the way up this little hill towards the end of a stage, and I just went past him and he said, hey, tranquilo, and I turned around and I said, no, and he told me to f***, and I told him to f***, and then I dropped him, which was great. And then day 1, I was at the breakfast buffet and all the riders are sat at their tables, and I hear this voice next to me say, do you know where the muesli is? And I turned around and it was none other than Cancellara. And I thought to myself, Mr. Cancellara, what a stereotypical thing for a Swiss person to be eating for breakfast. But I didn't say it to him. I just said, yeah, they're right over there. Later on in day 1, on the way into the very first corner, a right-hander, you know what the winds are like in Qatar, everyone's doing it's like 73k into the corner. So I was absolutely terrified. And then we take the right turn and I'm kind of towards the back. And I'm losing the wheel in front of me, but I don't want to give up my space. But I hear this voice behind me just screaming at me to get out of the way, like, get out of the way. And I'm turning around, getting ready to tell him where to go. And then as I turn around, I realize it's none other than Tom Boonen. And let me tell you something, I don't care how tough you are or how hard you think you are, if Tom Boonen is shouting at you to get out of the way, you get right out of the way. So I did, I dodged out and I was like, excuse me, as he went past. Well, I lost the peloton after that and I had about 8 kilometers chasing back at something crazy like 60k per hour. So yeah, I learned a lesson there. Don't go into a corner ahead of Tom Boonen. And a bit later in the race, actually Philippe Gilbert came up to me when we were just hanging out at the back and he just started asking me what I was doing, and he'd heard that there was someone that was a journalist in the race. And I told him a bit about my life and he said, oh, that sounds cool. I said, I'm a bit envious. And I said, what do you mean? I said, you've been world champion, you've won all these races. Like everyone, and me included, are envious of you. And he was basically saying to me that although he goes to a lot of really cool places, it's basically, get off the airplane, go to the hotel, race, and then back on the plane. And yeah, anyway, he seemed like a really nice guy. Every morning, the guy that was waving the flag to set us off, first in Qatar and then in Oman, was no less than the great Eddie Merckx. So talk about a bookend. I mean, it went from me at 15 years old, Eddie Merckx on my wall, wearing the yellow jersey, to there I am, 40 years old, and there's Eddie Merckx every morning waving us off. And none of the other guys were bothered, they'd seen it all before, but I always made sure that I was in the first 2 or 3 at the start line, so every morning I heard him look at Tom and say, Tom, you ready? And Tom said, yep. And then whoop, and we were off. It was brilliant. I could seriously go on for ages about not just my racing experiences, like from my career, but of that particular race and then Oman afterwards. And I think I will in another video, so stay tuned if you want to hear more about the crazy tale of me racing with the big boys in 2012 in Oman and Qatar. Yeah, so I was a very, very lucky guy. I mean, Tour of Thailand, Tour of Brunei, Tour of East Java, Tour of Sumatra, Tour of China, Tour of Korea, Tour of Kamano in Japan, like the list goes on and on. I had an absolute ball. I mean, it was a painful ball. But yeah, I had an amazing time and it was just incredible.
Can you hear that noise? That is the sound, and it's just gone quiet, of the cicadas. The curse of sleep in summer here in Taiwan, if you're anywhere near trees. So I'm out in the jungle at the moment. We just came for a little bit of a bike ride in a beautiful place, one of my favorite places to ride. It's actually just on the edge of the Sakura route, which is in one of the other videos. I'll put the link down at the bottom. But yeah, it's a gorgeous day, not too hot, really beautiful out here in northern Taiwan. And whilst the biggest achievement of my career was finishing the Tour of Oman and the Tour of Qatar in 2012, despite waking up every day being sure that I was going to die on that day, it was a horrible feeling. But after each stage, the relief was palpable, to say the least. But my biggest win was in the UCI 2.1 Tour of Taiwan, also in 2012. So I'd come off the back of quite a few weeks of really strong tours. I think we did Oman, Qatar, and then it was Korea, then it was Thailand, I think, or maybe China, and then it was Jelajah in Malaysia as well. So the whole team was flying and riding really well. And I kept getting in these massive breaks every day, like 80k, 120k, and then I'd have a day off and sort of sit in the group. And then the next day was 120k, and then 60k and 70k. So these huge, daft breakaways, and I would always get caught with whoever I was with in the last 3 or 4k, just ran out of steam. And on the penultimate stage, my manager came over and he said, Lee, it looks like you've got the green jersey. I said, what? Because that's the sprints competition, for the best sprinter in the event with the most points, the sprint points. And he said, yeah, he said, all those breakaways, all those crazy breakaways, you were picking up points every time you went over the sprint line. So I had no idea, we had no idea, it wasn't part of the overall sort of tactics. And then in the next couple of seconds, they called my name over the speakers saying, Lee Rogers, green leader in the points classification. So I got up on stage, this general gave me my jersey, and then the next day I had to defend it, and I did that. And yeah, I ended up winning the sprints competition in the Tour of Taiwan 2012 by doing the longest sprints in the history of cycling, probably, because my sprint wind-up started at about 80k to go. And I just managed, really by chance, I guess. But on that last day, I had to fight for it. But yeah, I'd have to say that was my biggest victory. And again, it was a nice bit of icing on the cake, to sort of get that jersey in Taiwan, which is a place which has sort of given me so much, not just in terms of cycling, but also in terms of my job and stuff, and really changing my life, I guess you could say.
I mentioned earlier in the last video, going from 15 to 18 racing and then 18 to 36 with no racing whatsoever, and then ended up in Japan at 37. I'm racing against the best riders in Japan. That was fantastic. And then to get the opportunity to come to Taiwan, to work as a cycling editor of a cycling website, and to turn professional and race the UCI circuit, to end up going to Europe and racing against those guys, to end up going to Oman and Qatar and racing against Hushoft and Sagan and Cancellara and Boonen. It was mind-blowing. It was I've said mind-blowing about 10 times in this video, if you see the last one especially. But I was lost for words. And although there was an element of luck to it, you know, being able to ride at that sort of exalted level, I didn't embarrass myself. I didn't win any of the big races, Oman and Qatar obviously, but I got to the end. I might have got dropped a couple of times, but I finished the race. So I had a time that, you know, I cherished every second of it while it was happening. It wasn't as if afterwards I was looking back on it thinking, wow, that was incredible. Like when I was in it, I was totally immersed in it, but I knew as well at the same time that this was really special for me. And I really took advantage of it, and like I say, I cherished every moment. Since retiring from road racing in about 2014-15, I've had some really great opportunities. Some came just before that and some after. Working for the Taiwan KOM Challenge has opened up some really crazy doors. I've also, as I mentioned in the last video, become a cycling coach, and that's led to some more interesting opportunities as well. I'm actually the official coaching provider for the phenomenon that is everesting. Andy Van Bergen, who's the main sort of head honcho at everesting, he came to the Taiwan KOM in, again, I can't remember exactly, but I think about 2012 or 2013. He told me about this everesting thing, and I thought, that's ridiculous. It'll never catch on. And he asked me if I wanted to be the head coach, the official coaching provider for that about a year later. So I've been doing that for the past few years, and that's really taken off, of course, in the past couple of years, year and a half due to COVID. And then a couple of years ago, I ended up founding a cycling tour company, the Taiwan KOM Tours, which you can see www.taiwankomtours.com. And if you're interested in bike tours, let me know. It's taiwankomtours.com, another plug. So yeah, that's basically the story in a very, very long nutshell. That's how I became a pro at 37, and that's how I ended up in Taiwan and living my very own bike life, I guess. Loved every minute of it. There's been ups and downs. It's been hard. You know, the racing was tough. Like, I suffered a lot, but what a trip. What a trip. As you can see, like, it brings a smile to my face just thinking about it, what I saw and what I ended up doing and the people that I ended up meeting and stuff. So it was humbling. It was truly humbling and truly an experience. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and please subscribe. Stay tuned for more stuff coming soon. Thank you very much. Stay tuned for the next one. And as ever, stay safe, look after yourselves, and see you again soon.